Hey guys, I just want to talk quickly about picket spacing. I've seen a lot of people lay out pickets, balusters, whatever you want to call them, and there's a common problem that there's a simple way to avoid. So there's a lot of different ways I've heard of people measuring it and figuring out the spacing, but usually when I look at them, they have the same problem. So ordinarily, somebody's going to measure the actual opening. So if you imagine this rail, here's my posts, got a bottom rail, top rail. This is the place I'm going to fill in with pickets or balusters. So if I set down and I measure my opening, I'm looking at 8 3/4. Say I'm going to put 4 spaces. I'm not looking at codes and maximum spacing. I'm just working with what I have. So you figure that out. But I'm going to do 4 spaces. And I come up with 2 3/16. So I've gone ahead and made a mark at 2 3/16, 4 3/8, and they're all 2 3/16, 2 3/16, 2 3/16. So I've got these pieces of 1/4 inch square, and I'll see people on their railing. They'll lay them out, put them on the centers. They've got their spacing, they go to the center. So from a distance, looks okay. There is a little problem though. If I take this, and I already know that these are all 2 3/16 center to center, but if I look at the space in between, I've got 1 15/16 here, 1 15/16. Now the real problem comes in at this space here. I've got 2 1/16. What about over here? I've got 2 1/16. So these spaces on the outside next to the post are going to be bigger than the ones in between. There's a real easy way to go around that. If we go back to measuring the opening, and whatever the thickness of the material we're using for the pickets, add an imaginary thickness over here. So now I'm at 9 inches because these are 1/4, so I added another 1/4 inch. So now instead of 8 3/4, I'm going 9 divided by 4, 2 1/4. So if I make my mark at 2 1/4, 4 1/2, 6 3/4, and then I've got 9. So that's all 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. Now, if I were to measure it going this way, it's going to look funny because it's 2 1/4 to that far side of that imaginary dimension. But if I were to go this side, I'd be looking at this side of the picket, not this side or the center. So I'm just going to show you. If we slide these down and put that side on the mark. Now, as I look at this, 2 1/4 to the far side. So inside to far side. 2 1/4 to the far side. 2 1/4 to the far side. Just a little bit off on that one. 2 1/4 to the far side of the imaginary one. Now, if I'm looking at the actual space, I've got 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. All 4 of those are the same. So just to recap real quick, it works out really well. Measure the opening, add 1 thickness of the material you're using, divide by the number of spaces, and then use that to go from the same side. So if I'm on the right side of the post, right side of this one, the right side of this one, the right side of that one, right side of that imaginary one. So that's the key. I hope this helps you when you're figuring it out.